Juggernaut has been one of the most popular heroes for the longest time I can remember in Dota. However, a lot of the guides are a little bit outdated, so here are 15 tips that will hopefully make your Juggernaut that bit better, that are up to date. So tip number 1 is Swift Slash and Omnislash and how you combine them together. For people who don't know what Swift Slash is, it's the Aghanim Scepter upgrade for Juggernaut. It's kind of like a mini Omnislash and it has a 15-second cooldown. So if you cast Omnislash and then cast Swift Slash soon after it, you will actually cancel your Omnislash. So you minimize the damage that you're outputting. We want to maximize damage output. So ideally you want to wait until your Omnislash comes to an end. If you're really good at timing it, you can time one after the other. However, ideally you want to be casting Swift Slash first, which is that Swift Slash has a longer cast range than Omnislash. This gives it a significantly bigger benefit. If you're trying to jump onto a target in the backline and use an ability on them, the Swift Slash is much better for jumping on than Omnislash. Now tip number 3 comes to items for jumping into people, which is Abyssal Blade. So a lot of the time Blink Dagger was really popular in the past, yet the popularity of that item has dropped off heavily and it's a little bit overkill to have that much mobility, because Abyssal Blade literally allows you to blink onto a target right now. The Omnislash will only jump like a small range between units. If you wanted to jump to a unit that's further away and they're within the range of your Abyssal Blade, you can jump with the Abyssal Blade over to them, which is a really nice way of targeting a certain hero. Number 4 is general tips for the healing ward. So if you want to go and push down a tower, one of the best ways is to activate your healing ward and then go and push it. This will allow you to tank the tower, and if you take the aggro of the tower, your creep wave won't die and you'll basically take no damage, because if your healing ward is a high enough level. And this way you'll pretty much be able to push down something like a tier 1 tower much faster, because your creep wave is outputting damage to the tower as well. Now if you're lazy or you're just bad at microing, you can, in the laning stage, if you have to use the ward, one of the best ways of using it is to hide it in the tree line, so then that the enemy can't see it, so they have to commit a really far position even if they wanted to do one attack onto the healing ward. This is a good way of like making sure your healing ward doesn't die but still getting some health out there. So number 5 is Blade Fury and Teleport. So if you cast Blade Fury while you're teleport channeling, your channel won't get cancelled. Now this can be really useful, and how we can utilize this is that if you're in some area that you're teleporting to the other side of the map, maybe to join a team fight, you may not have to use spin and you might want to save onto it for mana or just for the cooldown. If you start getting approached by an enemy, then use spin after once they get closer, maybe when they start trying to throw out a stun, just trying to bait out their abilities, especially if they have no way to break a spell immune teleport. Number 6 comes to turn rate and spin. So if you want to turn 180 degrees and Juggernaut, it will take roughly 150 milliseconds to turn around. To just click the stop or halt button, and that way your hero will stay in the same position but will keep facing in the same direction. So this is something that you can take into account to be more efficient. Now tip number 7 can sometimes combat this issue of following after an enemy. There's actually a key that you can bind for following a unit without attacking them. So this is really good early on if you're chasing after someone and you're using the spin without like basically messing up. And the reason why it's like more important early on is because your movement speed kind of sucks. And the main issue with this follow hotkey is if the enemy goes into the tree line and you lose vision of them, you won't follow after them. So you will have to do a combination of clicking onto the ground as well as that follow hotkey to basically maximize your damage with spins. Number 8 is using items in combination with your attacks in the spin. So at the start of the game, let's say you have no items and you just start attacking someone while spinning at the same time. The attacks during the spin will not do any damage. However, if you decide to buy a Blightstone, the Blightstone armor reduction will still go through, but you won't do any damage. If you build a Mulnir and the proc of the Mulnir does damage, the proc of the Mulnir will output damage if you're spinning at the same time. And the Mulnir will proc as well and do its normal interaction. And this is quite similar across all of the other items that proc or have some sort of orb effect. Now, number 9 is to do with your attack rate or damage output in the Omnislash. So if you want to get the best damage output, you need to increase Juggernaut's attack rate, and one of the most effective ways of increasing your damage is Butterfly. The reason why is because it increases your attack speed for one, your stats for agility get better, and this combines really well with Juggernaut's passive ability for critical damage. Effectively as well, it makes him tankier against right click damage from enemies, and if you combine this with Aghanims, so let's say you're building towards an Aghanims and you have an Ogre Club, the Ogre Club is giving you 200 health, and you combine that with Evasion, then you're effectively getting that little bit more extra health over that what you would have had with Juggernaut, say on builds that were very common about 1 to 2 years ago. Number 10 is that Omnislash cannot jump onto units that are hidden by Fog of War, so you want to be really careful of this. Other things can happen as well, where heroes who have a high amount of mobility who can jump away, like Queen of Pain, Ember Spirit, stuff like that, so they need to be held in place and disabled so that they can't effectively blink or jump away. Or even heroes that are on the low ground can force staff up onto the high ground, and if you don't have vision of them, the Omnislash often doesn't follow after your hero as well. Number 11 is to click the attack onto the hero that you want to target after the Omnislash ends, or better yet, just enable auto attack. It's so much more simple to have that enabled, and it'll give you that higher DPS overall within an interaction or fight. So number 12 is neutral items. One of the reasons why Juggernaut is actually pretty good with neutral items is because a lot of neutral items work with this hero really well. One of the most popular by far, from just looking through stats and replays, is that the Leveler, which is I think a level 4 neutral item or tier 4 neutral item. The problem with Juggernaut is that his crit does not work on towers, and the Leveler will allow you to do a lot more tower damage, and even in team fights your crit is going to benefit massively, your Omnislash is going to benefit massively from the increase of attack speed that the Leveler has. So effectively the Leveler will help you finish out those tier 3 towers and also help you win team fights. So the next one is BKB a good item on Juggernaut? And the answer is yes, in some matches. A lot of matches it's not really necessary, but others it's like it'll pretty much win you the game, because if the enemy has lots of slows or roots, you will have a very hard time moving around in team fights. Now you can kind of get around this sometimes just with buying a Manta, but often Manta cannot be enough, or that people don't utilize the Manta timing correctly. So BKB is a lot simpler and sometimes way more effective at solving the issues you have of crowd control on the enemy team. 14. This is something that's just to do with farming patterns, and it's a mistake that you commonly see, is that people don't use their spin early on to farm creeps. It's way faster to clear a neutral camp with your spin than just right clicking it early on. And you can easily fuel up your mana by constantly flying out clarities to yourself. And finally, number 15 is that Swift Slash can be used onto creeps. It might seem pretty stupid, however, if you get yourself into a sticky situation where you're being ganked, you can Swift Slash some neutral creeps in a distance away and allow you to jump that bit further away from the enemy, and maybe might even save your life sometimes. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more Dota content like this, make sure you subscribe.